Alright, today we're going to talk about dual batteries and single battery setups and what I do to keep my battery system fully charged. So for me, I personally don't like running dual batteries. I run single battery system here. You can see there's no other batteries here. For the cost of a dual battery system, it's the amount of amp hours you get off of a little small deep cycle battery is just not worth it, in my opinion. Basically, what I do on my Sequoia and my Tundra, I have upgraded the factory 27F battery with a 31M. Basically, that's a group size battery. It's slightly larger. You can see right down here is about how much wider the battery is. It's the same height, but that much wider. All I had to do is trim the tray and the battery fits right back in the same spot. You do have to move a couple of the clips. Obviously the post is not where they used to be up here, so you had to bring it down. The other thing was the ground to the body typically grounds out right here. It won't reach anymore. All I did was drill a hole, install a nutsert. That allowed me to put everything back where basically how it was. So the reason why I run a single battery over a dual battery is single battery will get me more amp hours, and the cost wise, I'd rather spend the extra money that you would spend on a dual battery setup and just go solar, especially if you have the ability to. As you can see up here, I have a fixed solar panel charging all the time. It's actually probably charging right now. You go to camp, I literally turn off the truck and it's charging, well, there's daylight. Otherwise, you're just running off your battery. Dual battery setup, most guys I've seen usually don't run a solar setup, so they just run the house battery, and then have a start battery, which is great. But, if you're doing a multi-night trip, I personally prefer not to have to start my truck. I've done camping where I was parked for 2-3 days, and I was able to just leave my truck off, never had to start it. Solar throughout the day was enough to keep my batteries topped off. So so that's my reason for it. So then you're like, what happens if you run your house battery down, or in my case, my single battery down, how would I start it? It's like, what's the point of having a start battery just sit there? The whole point of a start battery is just to be able to start it, and then you have a secondary battery that you have the ability of draining down to the point where you probably can't start anymore. So let's just say, I'm doing this winter camping, using a lot of power. Solar isn't keeping up. On my third day, fourth day, I'm planning on leaving. My battery's probably on the weaker side. It could be a weaker side. I haven't had an issue with my solar, but let's just say it was on the weaker side and I did drain my house battery down. Most guys with dual batteries will, I got a start battery. I was like, why am I going to carry an extra 50 to 100 pound secondary battery, just to sit there to start? And then most guys, after 3-4 days, after 2 days, you're probably gonna have to start your truck up running that small dual battery setup. I was able to go 4 days, or actually I can go indefinitely, especially with solar. But anyways, if I ran this down, everyone should be carrying one of these anyways. It's basically a jump pack. That's my second battery, right? That's my start battery right there, if I needed it. If my solar wasn't able to keep up and I needed a start battery, bam, get one of these. Don't have to constantly maintain it. Have your alternator constantly charging 2 batteries all the time. Just overall, and plus you can use this to, jump start anyone else that needs it. No need to carry jumper cables. Dual battery setup, obviously you can still jump someone, but with this, don't need to. So anyways, so we'll get back to my single battery setup. Been running this for a while now. Solar's been able to keep these batteries topped off. Most deep cycle batteries require a certain way they're supposed to be charged. Apparently, because of my solar setup, it charges these batteries the way it's supposed to, keeps them topped off. So I haven't had an issue. On my Tundra, I have the same Group 31 battery for 7 years now, and it's still going strong. So anyways, over the last maybe a month or so, I've known about this mod, just never really looked into it because my solar setup kind of took care of it. But decided to do this mod and you know, get a little bit more benefit out of my charging system. So factory alternator, I have not done anything to my alternator. On this Sequoia, it comes stock with a 150 amp alternator. On my Tundra, I did swap it out, the 130 amp that it came with a Sequoia 150 amp alternator. It was a direct swap, at least for me, from 04 to 04. So anyway, so what I did is, there's a guy's been running this stuff for a long time. Like I said, I just never needed it, but you know, for $5, why not? So what you basically want to do is, best place I found this fuse, it's basically what you're looking to buy, is one of these fuses right here. It's a diode. Rock Auto has it at the cheapest price. You can find this on Amazon, but it costs a little bit more. So I bought actually a few of these off of Rock Auto, because I have a few vehicles and friends that I've installed this on. Oh, windy today. So what I did was so what you want to do is pop your fuse cover off, find, it says right there, Alt S. That's basically the alternator sensing voltage fuse right there. It's a 7.5, and this is the fuse that's normally in its place right there. What I did was took that out, got one of these GM fuses right here, diode fuses. It is directional, and you do have, it's not direct fit, it won't fit right into it like it's the original fuse that was. Problem is it has like a little like a little tab on one side, that way, at least on the GM, so you don't install it facing the wrong way. In our case, since it's not supposed to go there, don't have that option. So all you have to do is take I use a pair of really sharp flush cutters. Basically it cuts it. I mainly use it for zip ties, but what you want to do is trim that little tab right there. Let's get this facing the right direction. A little tab off on one side. You can see right there that little tab, and actually all the way up. When I did it, it exposed some of the stuff on there, but it didn't cause anything. It just exposed what was in here. It's not a big deal. But you know, you just keep trimming it till it fits. And then once it fits, all you do is take that 7.5 alternator sensing fuse out, put this in its place. And I took the original one out and just kept it here in case I ever needed to put it back in. And in my case, you know, the arrow points towards me, out towards the driver's side. Same thing with the Tundra, pointed out. And what that does is tricks the system into thinking that it has lower voltage, and what it's going to do is cause the alternator to push out more volts. I've been averaging around 14.8 volts while doing this when I had it installed, and the system will still operate like normal. It will start, you know, it won't, as the battery gets charged, fully charged, it will start, you know, adjusting its voltage accordingly. Now this mod does not change the amperage, the output of the alternator. It'll still output how many amps it needs accordingly, as much as the battery needs. All it does is changes to 14.8 volt. What that does is allow these batteries to be charged at the voltage that they're meant to be. Again, this mod is only for guys that are running deep cycle AGM or what's the other one? Those gel batteries, Odyssey, Optimum. You know, in my case, I have a Duracell Marine battery right here. And yeah, and what I've noticed is, while I do have the solar that keeps these batteries topped off, while driving, I wasn't really charging this battery properly. I was relying on the solar to do the proper charging. The problem is when I go off-roading, camping, whatever, it's usually driving a couple hours. That entire time, this battery isn't being topped off like it's supposed to. If I get to camp during the day, not a problem, because then the solar takes over. But if I get to camp at night, I've noticed after doing this, get to camp at night, my resting battery voltage is usually sitting around 12.6, 12.5. A fully charged battery usually rests at around 12.7, 12.8, I want to say. So what this allowed the system to do was keep this battery topped off while driving. So when I get to camp, if I get to camp at night, I start with 100% battery instead of 12.6, which is like around what, 90%, something like that. You know, and even all the years I've been doing this, getting to camp late at night without this mod, resting battery start 12.6, I can still go overnight. I run a fridge. I leave my rock lights on. I run all my lighting, camp lights, as needed. Never an issue the next day. Well, in my case, solar kicks back in, so it charges the battery. But I can go all night. My fridge does not have an issue, be able to run all night. But what I've noticed is running this setup, I get to camp at 12.8 resting. It basically, that's the starting point, at the night. Allowed, which was nice, especially if I plan on running, like wintertime now, plan on running a diesel heater. It does draw a little bit more juice, a little bit more stuff I run at night. So having a fully topped off battery before, you turn off your engine is nice. Guys with dual battery setups, this will work as well. Probably recommend it, since you guys are most likely not running solar, but if you are, still recommend doing this mod for $5. Why not? This is all you need. Well, it's probably one of the easiest modifications you can do to your electrical system. And that's all you have to do. Same thing on the Tundra. Same thing. We'll walk over to the Tundra and show you. I got my Tundra here. I keep this thing on the Tundra. It has solar as well. But you can see under the fuse panel under here. In this case, on my 04 Tundra Access cab, the arrow points towards the front of the vehicle. You can check this when you install, if you plan on doing this mod on yours. All you do is just pull the fuse out, put the diode in, and you'll get, if you don't put it in the facing the right direction, you just get the alternator light on. All you do is turn it back off, swap it the right way, and then fire it back up, and the alternator light should turn off, or the battery light will turn off, and that's how you know it's on the right direction. Alright, we're inside the Sequoia. Haven't started this thing in I don't know how many days. Just sits out here on the chart. Solar keeps this battery topped off, so I'll never worry about it going dead. But you can see this board's actually live, hot all the time. You can see the solar is actually pushing out 13.7 volts right now. It's what's keeping my battery topped off and fully charged at all time. So we're gonna fire it up and see what this blow fuse diode does for the charging system. There it is, 14.8, 14.9. Issue with these low volt meters is they are not calibrated, they're not accurate. When I put a voltmeter on the battery, that's the true way to see what the your charging system's pushing out. This is just a nice glance, to kind of just see what my charging system's doing. You can see it's pushing 14.8, 14.9, and you can see it's not accurate because this one's reading 14.7. Neither of these I probably would not trust. but it's close enough to where it's not, you know, an issue. If I see it charged, you know, I'm running this truck and it's reading 12 volts and I know I got something wrong. I mean, you're gonna get a battery light anyways, but you know, it's still nice to be able to kind of just take a glance over and see what it's doing. You can see it's charging. I want to say this one actually flashes when it reads higher than 14, I don't know, 7, I think. It's like a little early warning, kind of like, you know, say, hey, your charging system's overcharging. But it's not. Again, I tested this with a voltmeter. I've been running this setup for a little over a month, maybe longer. But yeah, this voltage will, you know, be putting out 14.8. It will vary just like it did before, according to how much juice your battery needs as you're driving along. And this mod actually works on just about any on every I think Toyota that has as long as you have a deep cycle. I would not recommend this mod on any vehicles that does not have a deep cycle type battery, because this voltage that is charging that will kill those what do you call them, lead acid or wet batteries is what you could call them. But yeah, there it is. I would highly recommend this mod for $5 and a pair of I would use a flush cutters for a clean cut. You know, drop it in and, you know, keeps these deep cycle batteries topped off like it's supposed to. Now, if you're one of those guys that bought one of those fancy deep cycle charging units that does it, you know, you can do it that way as well. But you know, they're like $100-$200 for one of those low charging units, you know, and they're specific to each battery, each brand I've seen online. But again, like I said, I've been running this setup for about a month or so. My Tundra's been didn't have this mod for over 7 years. I've been running a deep cycle battery in that thing for about 7, and it still works just fine. Solar setup, you know, does its job of keeping those batteries maintained like it's supposed to. So there it is. I want to follow up on this at the end of this video. This is not, I didn't want this to be a debate over single versus dual battery setup. This is just what I run on what I do, and it's worked for me. I mean, dual battery may have its place. I just haven't found a need for it yet. I have never had a dead battery in all the years of me camping and just running a solar setup, and a single battery. You know, never had a battery left dead. My fridge, I've run my fridge. Most good fridges, even the cheap ones, I think you even do it, has a low voltage cutoff. I've hit the cutoff once or twice over the years, and that kept my battery from probably being completely depleted. But again, I have solar, so as long as the sun comes up in the morning, you know, before I even wake up, you know, the batteries is being charged, is being topped off. You know, fridge kicks back on, starts doing its thing. You know, so it's like, it's worry free. I don't have to constantly check my battery, you know, ever. You know, with dual battery setup, you know, you would have to monitor it. You would have to start your truck up. You would have to find a way to charge it. Most times it's just starting the vehicle. Again, for me personally, when I get to camp, I don't want to start my truck up. I want it just to be, you know, worry-free setup. Yeah, you can run a solar system with a dual battery setup, but like, why? It's just, I don't know. Just for me, it does not make sense for me. This, you know, allows me to run a bigger single battery. I get more use out of a single battery than I would out of a dual battery. So ended at that. There's the part number there. Again, you can get this off of Rock Auto. Cheapest place I found for this anywhere else. And another thing is, when I was looking at this fuse, they look exactly like those residential AC unit fuses that they use on their control boards or up in the furnace. I've seen them before. I just don't know if they're the same. But I know this works. So, you know, there it is.